Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess my last question for you is about the book. Did you always want to write a book? How did it come about? Was it something you've always wanted? Because there's a ton of great stories in here. I mean, if you're a fan of just football, there's so many great stories about your time in Syracuse, about your time with the Dolphins, about your time after the Dolphins in Alaska and all that stuff. Did you always want to write a book?
I thought about it several times after being part of the perfect team. A lot of the guys did write a book, but I thought, that's just a small part of my life. When I was through with football, or football was through with me, I got fired. Coach Shue fired me finally, and which I deserved it. and then I was ready to go to Alaska, but it took a little while. I got involved in the USFL and went through some of that stuff. And then I was doing motivational speaking and all that. And one day I just said, it's enough. If I don't go to Alaska right now, it's never going to happen. So I just stopped everything and left for Alaska. And I'm glad that it happened the way it happened, because I spent 20 some years up there. Audrey and I found each other just before we went to Alaska, and she was my partner on that, and laid out the trips and planned all the itineraries, did the hard part. And I got to enjoy the outdoors like I've never done before. And I found places in Alaska that I didn't even know existed that were just splendid. For a kid that grew up in the country that has appreciation of nature, that was the Disney World of the wilderness for me. I appreciate the national parks down here in the lower 48, but trust me, folks, if you like those parks and down here in the lower 48, you need to go to Alaska, go up and look and plan your trip. But there's some places that are so beautiful and so remote and so pristine that, it's just a wonderland. That's how I liked it. And those are the things I waited until we had all together. After 20 some years, Audrey came to me and said, Larry, if you're going to write a memoir, you're 76 years old, you need to do it. And I said, if you'll help me, we'll do it. And she, of course, started to organize it, looked into it, got the people that helped put it together, planned for when it was going to happen and come about. And I did it. I'm very glad that she suggested it and then helped me go through it, and we got it done. But I think it's a good book in the sense that it gives you an insight to some of the things that went into the undefeated season, and then the things that made Shula and that coaching staff, and that, you talk about that being the greatest team, but that was the greatest coaching staff, in my opinion, that was ever put together. Monty Clark, Howard Schnellenberger, Coach Arnsberg, they were absolutely pivotal guys in the organization and the execution of that season. And we were so lucky to have them, and was so lucky that all that came together and landed right in Miami, a place that needed it. And it talk about, we had 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 people show up at the airport at 9:00 at night on a Sunday night to welcome us back after a victory. It was like walking through. They wanted to come do the parking lot over at the Orange Bowl. They did it right in the Miami airport. They had to park us at a different place over at a different gate and put us on our whole own extension over there, so they could get all the people, so it didn't interfere with the operation of the rest of the airport. But they did it because it was such a community thing. Talk about something good for the community. Now, all those people weren't just one faction. They were all different. They were all mishmash, all different kinds of backgrounds. That's what America is. That's what Americans about. And the fact that brings it out, football brings it out, is a double blessing, in my opinion. And I like to talk about that, because there was never a time in my life that I saw where there was more division between races, between ethnic backgrounds, just between cities, whatever you want to call it. But I saw that all go to the side, and all of them in there, arm to arm, all cheering and laughing and talking to each other and sharing things. And if that happens, people start to have a good high regard for each other, and that's what it's all about. And that solves a lot of problems in the country right now. And I hope that's continuing. I hope that's going on with the Dolphins today.